Volcanic eruption in Iceland. Before we can get started with volcanic eruption, we need to know what volcanoes are and what they're all about. So, what are they? Basically, volcanoes are an incredible natural phenomena as well as natural architects. They've created more than 80% of our planet's surface, laying the foundation that has allowed life to thrive. Lava rivers spread into bleak landscapes, but as time ticks by, the elements break down these volcanic rocks and created very fertile soils that have allowed civilization to flourish. There are volcanoes on every continent, even Antarctica. They are categorized into three groups: active, dormant, and extinctive, which means some are still erupting, sleeping, or didn't erupt for centuries. There are two types of eruption. By an effusive eruption, the magma is less running, which allows gas to escape and the magma to flow down the volcano slope. Explosive eruption happen when vicious molten rock traps the gases, building pressure until it violently breaks free. The majority of volcanoes in the world form along the boundaries of Earth's tectonic plates, massive expanses of our planet's outermost layer, the lithosphere, that continually moves, bumping into each other. When tectonic plates collide, one often plunges deep below the other. This is known as subduction. The heavier plate sinks below the other one, and the very high temperatures melt it and form magma that can work its way up to the surface. But not all volcanoes are made by subduction. Some of them are also formed by a method that is known as hotspot volcanism. In this situation, a hotspot, which is basically a zone of magmatic activity, pushes up through the crust in the middle of a tectonic plate to form a new volcano. In many cases, the hotspot builds a line of volcanoes or islands on the surface. The perfect example for hotspot volcanism is Iceland, the fire island. Iceland is a small volcanic island in the very northern east of Europe. The volcanoes there include lots of active ones due to Iceland's location over a magmatic zone. The island has 30 active volcanic systems, of which 13 have erupted since the settlement of Iceland in 874. The average volcanic eruption occurs in Iceland every 4 or 5 years. This isn't unusual, considering the island has between 150 and 200 volcanoes. The citizens started to use the heat from the hotspot long ago and created a system that is based on all the geothermal energy, which is just a fancy word for the heat that comes from the inner core of the Earth to the surface. The eruption of Laki, one of the biggest Icelandic volcanoes between 1783 and 1784, was the biggest eruption in history. When it erupted, the ash darkened the sky all over Europe for years. It also caused widespread crop failure and resulted in famine all over the continent. The most famous volcanic eruption was the one of Eyjafjallajökull in 2010 and disrupted flights all over the world, as well as the enormous ash cloud that covered large areas of northern and western Europe. The most dramatic consequence was the ice of the glacier lagoon melted and enlarged more and more. Today, the lagoon is a 30-meters deep pile of volcanic material. The most destructive volcanic eruption was the volcano Eldfell in 1973. It erupted unexpectedly and the population was soon evacuated. The eruption buried around 400 homes in lava and ash and almost destroyed the island's harbor. Luckily, only one man lost his life. The most active volcano is Katla. On average, it erupts every 50 to 100 years and is completely covered by a glacier. By a minor eruption, the lava might not get through the ice, but if there is going to be a bigger one, the consequences will be immense.